Thank you for tuning in, everyone. I'm Genvièv, and today what we will talk about is life after death, and not in the sense that you may think of. Last week, I was interviewed for a UK radio network by one of my longtime friends who is an archaeologist, anthropologist, and military historian. So by definition, you can say his expertise is to cover death after life. And as we were debating this on the air, we realized that our specialties are precisely reversed. While his studies focus on death after life, my research with forensic and clinical hypnotherapy, brain plasticity, and brain rewiring truly dives into life after death. Because there comes a time where the guilt, the shame, and the blame aimed at extinguishing our flame eventually does burn us into ashes. And that is precisely the moment we can choose to stand back up and shine brighter than ever before. In Greek mythology, there is a bird that is known to resurrect from the very ashes of its own destruction, cyclically regenerated or born again from its own remains. This bird associated with the sun is the phoenix. So today, I'm here to inspire you and to teach you to become a phoenix and to rise again from the demolition of your being as you knew it. Because even in superhero stories, in motion pictures and fictions, the saviors of humanity, the fighters of the evil and dark forces that may be, all have to be first destroyed before they can rise again and change their destinies. And this is known as the adversity advantage. Only from the hottest fires are forged the mightiest warriors. And going through narcissistic abuse truly is a death of the spirit, a demolition of the self, definitely an obliteration of the ego. And it is often a death of the soul too, or it certainly feels this way. This is what they call the dark night of the soul. When you're left entirely destroyed to your core with zero source of support or consolation, basically left to die. And sometimes, as we covered last week, it does lead to our physical death, which is the ultimate goal of abusers, to destroy their target. The malignant NPDs, narcissistic personality disordered individuals, whether they are overt or covert, are known to draw profound energy in witnessing the obliteration of their target. The goal of the narcissist is to destroy you emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, and physically if they can. There's a known high rate of suicide that's following narcissistic abuse, which is precisely why it is such an important subject for us to understand, educate ourselves into, and raise as much awareness to as we possibly can. So today we will study how to unsubscribe from the false reality of narcissistic abuse. And your first steps to survive is to, number one, stop the impact. Decide that this right now is the moment where and when the abuse finally ends. Reclaim your freedom and remove yourself from the abusers as much as you possibly can, because it is the only way to begin repairing your truth, yourself, and your life. Number two is to restore your truth, to reclaim your reality, your authenticity, the sovereignty of your being, as they call it. And we do this by owning our reality, dispelling the false beliefs embedded by the abusers, eradicating the lies, the doubts, and the psychological mind games that are played by NPDs and abusers and toxic personalities. Our beliefs affect our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, and reactions. Therefore, they impact how we perceive and experience the world around us, basically weaving the tapestry of our life. As we saw in last week's video, this has a costly impact on our biology, on the architecture and physiological functioning of our brain and body, since belief, thoughts, and emotions cause physical and biological changes internally. But this goes both ways. As our thoughts and emotions can harm us, we can equally turn this around and learn how to restore health, wellness, and peace, calm our nervous system, reignite our energy, and begin to experience how to shift and bend reality, both internally and externally, working from the brain to the body and working from the body to the brain as well. So how are beliefs and false beliefs embedded? Well, the recipe is simple. It relies on the combination of a strong emotion, an authority figure, and repetition. And that is why, as little ones, we're especially vulnerable to being embedded with false beliefs, because we're a blank slate. We don't know who we are yet. And besides, additionally, we are taught to rely on the opinion of others to base and develop our opinion of ourselves. We're taught to accept the opinion of others and their statements as truth, especially when they come from authority figures like parents or teachers. And so we do. And being subjected to psychological manipulations from an early age and later on in adult life is known as emotional warfare, through which your rights, your wellness, your safety, your reality, and even your personality are progressively eroded by abuse until you lose every part of yourself, your strength, your resources, your life. So let's look into the known manipulation techniques of abusers and NPDs to understand why and how they lead to confusion, depression, profound suffering, loss of identity, and often loss of life as well. The first one I'll talk about is gaslighting. Gaslighting is a psychological, manipulative abuse that is leading you to question and doubt your reality, your memory, your behavior, your thoughts, your perceptions, and your truth. And it's done through persistent denial of facts, constant lies, contradictions, misdirection, redirection that is meant to destabilize you, undermine you, and delegitimize your experiences, your beliefs, and your reality. I'll give you an example. A child asking their mother why she was beat, while she was kicked and punched. And the mother's response being an outrage, "How do you dare harm and hurt me this way?" So you're asking why you are being beaten, and the response is that you're inflicting harm and hurt upon another by asking why you were harmed. See, so this leads to what is known as cognitive dissonance, where the constant redirection, misdirection, lies, and contradictions from the abusers leads you to lose grasp of your own reality. And you lose the understanding of what's right and wrong, where the truth lies, where the facts, how the facts were. And this is profoundly destabilizing. The second one is projection. And projection is a defense mechanism in which the ego projects onto others its own faults, accusing others basically of its own faults. So another example of that is the parent who beats their child while calling their child a monster because the child is not capable of crying while being beaten. And that is peritraumatic dissociation. When you're cornered, as a child especially, or as an adult where all of your resources were removed, and you're inflicted severe injuries, and you have no ways to protect yourself, your central nervous system will shut down as a self-preservation mechanism. This happens in all living creatures. A prey being grabbed by a predator will go instantly limp, loose, relax, and the prey is not dead. Simply, the mind splits. The conscious mind slips out and you switch into the realm of the subconscious mind in which you don't feel any pain anymore. You don't feel fear. You don't feel emotions or sensations of any kind. So basically all the senses that are related to the human conditions have fade away. And you're simply life observing from above without judgment, criticism, or opinions of any kind. That is what happens when the fear and the pain becomes so intense that you no longer are capable with your nervous system to process it. So projection again, accusing others of their own faults. Now there's triangulation. Triangulation is meant to create rivalry by splitting people against one another. This is done to create jealousy amongst people, to play somebody against somebody else. And it allows the narcissist to divide and conquer so that they can remain on their throne of all power while everybody else is harmed in the process. You see that with sibling rivalries. It provides the narcissist with feelings of self-importance and allow them to draw that supply of narcissistic energy that they seek in everything that they do. The next technique we'll review briefly is the smear campaign. That's another tactic aimed at destroying the target by spreading rumors about them to everyone they know, everyone within their reach. And the goal here is to isolate and annihilate. The target is left with no one, no allies, no one to turn to for support while the abuse continues. Then comes the silent treatment. The silent treatment is a malevolent, abusive and controlling behavior that is used by the narcissist to express disapproval and contempt against their target. It is a passive-aggressive form of punishment to express displeasure. It's also known as stonewalling, depriving the target of their presence, communication, and relationship, to punish and conquer again. When it goes a step further, it becomes ghosting, when the person disappears from the relationship altogether, vanishes from the relationship. Again, a malevolent form of punishment and control used by the abuser to leave the victim suddenly and entirely deprived of presence and communications. And all of those cycles of abuse with NPDs lead to trauma bonding. Trauma bonding because the relationship with NPDs follow that endless cycles of textbook chain of abuse. It starts with the initial idealization phase known as love bombing, in which you are literally bombarded with love, praise, flattery, attention, kindness, great gifts, along with a false charm and pseudo-empathy, because narcissists are not able to truly feel empathy. And they're doing this love bombing phase on a compulsive mission to conquer and trap you like a prey. You are paraded like a trophy, introduced to everybody in the narcissistic's family and friends and circles as the person they've been looking for their entire life, basically put on a pedestal and lavished with praise and gifts and attention. So you're basically brought to cloud nine. And this shifts the moment you either express the slightest criticism or the moment you begin to notice incoherences in the behavior of the narcissist or the abuser. You begin to see through their real self and begin to express or feel, because they're very intuitive, they will notice your change in behavior. And so that moment you go into the immediate devaluation phase, where you're brought down and abused and criticized and mocked and put down constantly. It'll go into the discard phase and the ghosting, where the narcissistic disappears from the relationship. But it's not over at that point. They will come back, and that is called the hoovering phase, based on the vacuum cleaner brand known as Hoover. When the NPD comes back into your circles, back into your life, back into your awareness, with renewed attempts to hoover you back into their control. So these endless cycles of abuse create such instability, such imbalance, that the target, the prey, is progressively trained to ignore their wellness, ignore their safety, ignore their life, and all basic human needs and rights, to focus solely on appeasing and pleasing the abuser at all costs. This, by the way, my friends, is known as the Stockholm Syndrome. So the symptoms left behind by a narcissistic abuse is confusion, depression, anxiety, brain fog, dissociation, definite, clear loss of identity, as you constantly try to please and become what you think another expects of you. Loss of self, loss of purpose, loss of motivation, basically a death of the self. And very often victims of narcissistic abuse end up taking their own life. So it's a very real threat for all of us. And the key to combat this is to spread awareness, understanding, and support. So in order to eradicate those false beliefs, there are a few steps we can take right now. The first one is education, understanding the behavior, understanding your symptoms, understanding why you feel the way you do and what happened to you. Knowledge, inspiration and education. Action as well. Understanding you're not alone is a very important step. There is solid and effective support available, and you can and will emerge from this challenge stronger than you ever were before, once you make the commitment to do so and once you take action. The second step that we can take is brain plasticity and brain rewiring, going back with forensic regression to cause, to the root of the wounds that make us vulnerable to narcissistic personality disorder individuals, repairing the emotional fabric. We do that in my practice using a very deep subconscious state that is accessible with hypnotherapy. The number 3 step that you can do right now is using keys to lasting wellness by studying ancient civilizations, medicinal practices. Ayurvedic medicine and shamanism teach us how to ground ourselves, how to restore our life force and release what no longer serves us, including our personalities. Ayurvedic medicine, yogic wisdom, and the Hindu approaches teaches us that we're not our bodies. Our body is basically the accumulation of what we ate through the course of our life. It's a heap of food. You eat a banana, you eat an apple, you eat lean protein. You're transforming that magnificent life force that is your body, is transforming it into blood and cells and tissues and tendons and neuro responses. So we are what we eat, and we see that we are not our bodies because through the course of our lives, we change bodies endlessly. You take pictures of somebody from the moment they're born as a newborn baby, and through the course of their lives, when they turn 5 and 15, 55, 80, 105, however long they decide to continue inhabiting that body, you see all these different bodies. They have nothing in common, except when you see through the depth of their eyes, possibly a recognition of the spirit that is inhabiting that body. So we are not our bodies. We know that we've experienced that with comas and momentary death where the person sees themselves from above as the medical teams are activating the heart to try to reignite life in the body. If we take that a step further, we know that we're not our brain either, since our brain is basically simply an accumulation of impressions that were taken through the course of our journey to enable us to operate this body, this very complex body that hosts our life energy, and to enable us to express ourselves, respond, and react to the world around us. So if we are not our body and we're not our brain, and we take that even a step further, we understand that we're not even our personality either. And maybe that will give you some reflection to do here. But personality, the word itself, comes from the Latin persona, which means mask. And it comes from the ancient plays in Greco-Roman empires where actors would wear masks to play in their parts, in their acts. And those masks that an actor embodies basically during the course of that act are the same today. When an actor films in a movie, they will study the part very conscientiously, embody that part and become that part. Well, a personality is very simply a part that we have fine-tuned and rehearsed and developed and rehearsed again and again until it becomes a second nature through the course of our lives. We're born in a certain country, civilization, time and space, in a certain family. We're given a name. That's our first label. We're not our name. We are not our body. We're not our personality either. We're basically beginning to act upon what is expected from us in the language that we're taught initially, in the civilization and cultures that we are born in and raised in the family circle that we are into. And we are trained to act a certain way. We are therefore afterwards given other labels, like an astrological sign. We're told, oh, you're a fire sign, so you are passionate and action-oriented. You are this sign in Chinese astrology. You were born under this astrological combination of planetarium alignments, so you are therefore this or that. And we study this and read this and hear that and continue to perfect that act that is very simply an act. So if we're not our body and we're not our brain and we're not our personality, well, what are we then? Life. And if we're life, do we need this personality? Do we need these limitations? Do we need these abusers in our life? Do we need these relationships that are constantly harming us and breaking us down? If we are life, if you're life, you can decide to be whoever you want to be and do whatever you wish to do with anyone you wish to be with, or by yourself for that matter. And you feel complete. You feel at peace, glowing and radiant, fulfilled and happy. One of the keys to ask yourself in your relationships with others is how you feel when you leave a specific person. Do you feel vibrant and alive, inspired and recharged? Or do you feel depleted and drained? Think about this, because this is your answer. This is your sign from your own body. And with shamanism, we learn to draw our energy by returning to the roots of who we were. We came from dust and we return to dust. We came from the planet and we return to the planet. And we are taught to draw our life force and energy from the pulsating energy of the planet. Walking bare feet upon the earth, drawing on the force of Mother Earth. That's what they call the earth in shamanism, Mother Earth, Grandmother Moon. Looking and inspiring yourself from the strengths of trees that have been standing for generations, thousands of years. Nature, mountains, fire, earth, water, and air. As a deep-sea rescue diver, as a child especially, I found solace and peace and that motherly, nurturing embrace, free diving to the depth of the Mediterranean Sea, where there was nothing but liquid peace and gentle silence. So this is all available to you wherever you are. Go find nature. Remove your shoes, place your soles, bare feet upon the energy of the earth. Lean against a tree, look at the mountains and fill your lungs with air, with oxygen, and persists, my friends. Refuse to become a victim. Choose instead to be an inspiration. And remember the words of Max Herrmann, so beautiful. Beyond wholesome discipline, be gentle to yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. You have a right to be you exactly as you are and live in safety, peace, serenity, and joy. So become a part of this movement, become a part of the inspiration, become a force, join the community here on the channel. Like, share your stories and comments, because we are in this together and we stand stronger when we stand together. So last week, many of you asked me, how do we comment under the video? And I know that on computers, it's fairly simple. It's right underneath your screen. But on mobile devices, on your phones, you actually have to scroll all the way down below the video, below all the previews. And that's where you will find your comment section, where you can share your stories, share your comments, share your questions, become part of this community so we can feel stronger all together and continue to learn how to restore our truth. I hope you loved this video. I certainly loved making it for you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.